Okay, here's the last topic for section 1.3, and it's going to be discussing average rate of change. So this topic goes along with slopes because average rate of change, if you look at the formula, right, it is, you know, you have your x's on the bottom and you have x's evaluated with the function f at the top. But really what these mean are these are just y's, which is just y2 minus y1 over x2 minus y1, which is the same exact formula for a slope. Okay. So you're really just finding a slope. So let's go ahead and apply this with a specific question. So suppose that for a particular social networking company, the annual revenue from rich media advertisements in millions of dollars for the years through 2007 through 2012 can be approximated with the model, the function r of x, as you can read through there, where x is the number of years, right? This is important. X is a number of years from the beginning of 2007. So questions like this are always a little hard to think of because when you think of beginning, you think of like some type of zero, right? So I always like to create some type of table to relate the year of the time related to like our X values. So what I like to do is create this little table. I'll say like beginning of 2007, right? So we have the year and we have our X value, right? Because our function is talking about X. So let's kind of relate year to X. So the year 2007, right? That's when this whole thing's beginning, right? The X is the number of years from the beginning of 2007. So 2007, what I would designate X as would be zero. Okay, because that's where we're beginning at. We're beginning at 2007. We're not beginning at the year zero. We're beginning at 2007 in the context of this problem. So X would be zero. And you just keep going from there. 2008, well, that's just one more year. So X would be one. 2009, that's two more years. So X would be two. And something like 2027, that's 20 more years. So that would be something like 20. Okay, so what I call this is a timetable. Okay, so if you're ever stuck about a question like this and you're not sure what values are what, a timetable will help you out. But let's go ahead and check out the question. So question A, find the average rate of change in revenue from the beginning of 2007 to the beginning of 2008. So remember that average rate of change, that's just a slope. Okay, so part A, let me go down here and work on it. So part A, we want to find the average rate of change. I'll abbreviate it like average rate of change from x equals 0 to x equals 1 because we're checking out 2007 to 2008. Well, that's going from 0 to 1. Okay, so if we use this formula here, right, this would look like r of 1 minus r of 0 over 1 minus 0. Okay, you could flip-flop it if you want. You can do 0 minus 1, r of 0 minus r of 1, but you'll get the same answer. I just like doing it positive. Okay, so r of 1. So luckily we have the graph here. We don't have to compute anything. It's just asking you what is the value of this function at x equals 1? Well, it looks like it's 16, right? R of 1. So what this becomes is 16. And now what's r of 0? Well, that's just right there. And that's just 0. So what this becomes is 16 minus 0 over 1 minus 0, 16 over 1, and that's just 16. Okay, so what I want to do is this is a very wordy problem, so I want to give a very wordy answer. So the average rate of change in revenue from the beginning of 2007 to 2008 is 16, right? But what are we talking about exactly? We're talking about millions of dollars. So we're not finding, you didn't find $16, right? That doesn't make sense. So we found $16 million per year. Okay, so that's our final answer for that. And so part B, likewise, average rate of change, 2007 to 2009. So now we're going from 2007 to 2009. So same thing. We have our setup here. Average rate of change from x equals 0, right? 2007 is x equals 0 to 2009, which is x equals 2. So this just equals r of 2 minus r of 0 over 2 minus 0. Still using this formula up here. Okay. So r of 2, we got to figure out what that is. That's just a value at 2. Looks like it's 6. So put that right there. We'll say like r of 2. But we have 0 already, so we just got to come back here and plug everything in. So r of 2, we found it to be 6. And it's just minus 0 over 2 minus 0. And that's 6 over 2, and that's just 3. Okay, so statement, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of copy and paste here. Okay, so the average rate of change in revenue from the beginning of 2007 to 2009, right, is now we found it to be $3 million per year. And that's it. Okay, so still finding slope, but now average rate of change puts it in terms of an applied problem. But okay, so that's it for section 1.3. We'll see you next time. Thank you.